Be sure to subscribe for more content.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the BigBC Finance Channel, and I hope you're having a very lovely day today. So in today's video, we're talking all about Luna Classic, what has happened to it recently, and where I predict the price to go to in the near future, with some key price levels and some trades I'm looking to make. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, if you appreciate the daily analysis on this channel and you're one of the 88% of people that watch my videos that are not yet subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. So without further ado, let's talk about Luna Classic and what has happened to it recently. And the annotations are back on the screen, and we see something marvelous here. Of course, what we are seeing is the price has finally broken through this yellow line that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks here on Luna Classic. Of course, we've been in this downwards trend. This yellow line has been our resistance for 2 weeks, and every time the price has come up to touch it, the price has just bounced off it every single time. So it's been a well-respected resistance here, and it's been dictating this downwards trend that we've seen on Luna Classic over the past few weeks. Of course, there were some events that really created a lot of volatility, such as the FTX drama that pretty much crashed Luna Classic to a low here of 13.5 cents. But now things are looking a lot more calmer, and we've seen the price finally break through this yellow line here. So really good stuff. And I think Luna Classic is poised to make a move in a massive upwards direction, with the price target still for me being around this 23.3 to 24 cents, this kind of region that I've drawn here. And basically the reason for this is that we're following, I believe, something that looks like this. So basically, if we go back in time a little bit here on Luna Classic, this isn't the only example, but this is probably the most recent example where we've seen this downwards trend line dictate a trend. You know, in this case, it was over the span of a week. We saw this trend line dictating this downwards direction. We saw a break through that trend line eventually, and from that breakout we saw the price move sideways and kind of consolidate in a pattern like this. Now of course, what we see from this is some sort of triangle. So we could have actually drawn a triangle that looks like this, with the price, with the bottoms and the tops of that price action in that region there, and we basically got a nice looking triangle here. And we did actually see a breakout from this triangle. We see the price actually pumped past this triangle, and this is where we would have placed our buy signal. Now, of course, price actually did come down for the few hours afterwards, so it didn't look too great. But then, of course, we did go in the slow upwards direction. Once we cleared that 100-hour moving average, this blue line that we have here, then we saw the price pump. And of course, if we did manage to trade that from the breakout to the top there, that's a 25% trade. So that would have been absolutely epic if we did catch that. So we're looking for a setup that looks something like this. So we had this downwards trend line broken. That was step number one. Step number two was some sort of trend reversal pattern. And in this case, that trend reversal pattern was this triangle that we saw here. And step number three, this 100-hour moving average. The price has to be on the upside in order for us to be in a much more bullish trend here on Luna Classic. Of course, there's no indication as to how long this bullish trend would last. In this instance, it was pretty quick before the price came back down once again. But now we're in this downtrend for a lot longer. We've been in this region. We've been in this downtrend for 2 weeks instead of 1 week, and we've finally seen the price break through. And what we're seeing right now is very, very calm waters. It feels like a calm before a storm. The volatility is very, very low here. The volume is quite low. And just looking back at the price over here, for example, we see the candles going crazy, but right now they're barely doing anything. So very calm waters at the moment. Not the breakout I was quite expecting from this trend line, but nonetheless, we can see a small price movement in the upwards direction after the price did break through. We did see the price come to test this resistance once more, as you can see in this region here, and now we've kind of gone in this more upwards direction. And so what we could see over the next few hours is pretty calm waters that look like this. But of course, that just sets us up for a breakout in the future as well. So in our last instance, for example, what we did see was some sort of triangle formation. So just looking at this chart right now, what we could also be seeing is some sort of triangle that looks like this. So if I just draw the resistance like that, just get this bottom line down here just to connect these three peaks. It's not quite clear, but if I zoom in, maybe you can see that a little bit better. We've got three candles touching this orange line. And this is kind of the most convincing triangle that I am seeing here. So what we could actually see the price do is kind of consolidate in a pattern like this, for example, and then we see a breakout from this triangle. Now, of course, these chart patterns are not perfect, and as you can see, it's still quite early days for this triangle, so we might need to adjust the resistance and the support of the triangle. Maybe it forms over a longer time frame, so something like this, for example. So this is quite a dynamic thing that I'm looking at as price data comes in over the course of the day. But if we do see a triangle that looks like this, for example, then we can expect a breakout to either side, and the breakout price target would be the first test of support and resistance. So if we break out within the next few hours, for example, we could see a price target of near 20 cents here, and if we break out a little bit later, then the price target gets dynamically adjusted and it's slightly lower at 19.5 cents. And of course, if we break to the downside, then that's very bearish because we slip back below this yellow trend line here, and we'll be looking at a price target at 14.4 cents. So just something to bear in mind, since triangles can refer to a breakout of the upside and the downside. And what I'm also looking for over the course of today, tomorrow, etc., is how the price really responds to this area here. Of course, if we see the price come down a little bit more to retest this trend line here, this yellow trend line that we got as a support, that is no problem. But my theory will be invalidated if we break below the low here at this kind of region. So if the price continues to head down like this, for example, below this triangle, and we see the price touch this region once again, then my whole thesis for the price going in this upwards direction is invalidated, and I will wait somewhat longer in order for the price to break out of this bearish trend. So if we do head to this orange level here, 15.8 cents at any point in the future, then we're still in this downtrend in my opinion. So that is just something I wanted to point out. But if we stay above 15.8 cents here on Luna Classic and we continue to move in a sideways direction, what I'll also look for is the price to break through this 100-hour moving average. So as well as a chart pattern with a breakout such as the orange triangle there, I'm looking for the price to cross this moving average. Now remember, last time the price crossed the 100-hour moving average, we saw this massive breakout to the upside. Of course, the 100-hour moving average is a good determinant of the trend. So when price is above, we're in a bullish trend. If the price is below, we're generally in a bearish trend. And it can also be an area of support and resistance. So several times, for example, where we see price bounce off the 100-hour moving average as a resistance and as a support. So in this case, the blue line acted as a strong resistance here. So when the price did finally cross it, we saw this massive pump here. So we could be seeing something very similar. Obviously, the moving average adjusts with the price. So when the price does start to go in the upwards direction, what we do want to see is the price to break through this 100-hour moving average and flip bullish on it. And of course, if we do break that and we see an increase in volume and momentum, that is very bullish to me. So that's one of the things I'm looking for. We could encounter some resistance at this level. So, if we do see a triangle and we open a long position on Luna Classic, then I'll be looking for how the price interacts with that moving average. And the next level is this level here. So this is a partial take profit level for me at 18.6 cents to 19 cents here. Because this was a historical resistance here on Luna Classic, as you can see in this region, price has come up to this area a lot of times and bounced off. So, this to me is a partial take profit area. When I'm long on Luna Classic, I will take some of my position out at this level. Of course, the next level will be that 20 cents, just because that's the price target of this triangle here. But if we continue to see upwards momentum, so if we see something that looks like this, for example, price consolidating like this, we get to the 20 cents level and we still have a lot of upwards momentum, then my final price target will be this 23.3 to 24 cents on Luna Classic. Now, the other thing I do want to say as well is that we do have to exercise patience for this price target to be reached. I don't think it's going to do something like this, but I'm not going to rule that out because it has happened in the past, for example, in this region here. So this was an unexpected short squeeze where the price went up 35% in a very short space of time. So this is possible by all means. We could see some sort of short squeeze like this, but the chances are we have to be patient in order for the price to get there. So it's probably going to be a longer term thing over the course of a few days, and there was going to be a good chance that the price is going to move sideways in some regions. So when I do come to open along and the price target is at 23.3 to 24 cents, as long as all the other technicals are still pointing in the bullish direction, then I'm happy to wait days or even weeks before the price reaches this 23 to 24 cents region there. So that's what I wanted to say here on this breakout. Of course, like I say, I always update my trading view. So if there's any new information that comes in about Luna Classic, if there's any change of what I think about it, then I'm going to be updating my trading view with my analysis on there. And of course, I update my trading view before I'm able to post videos on YouTube. So if you want all the latest, be sure to follow me on my trading view. The link is in the description below. Basically, on the RSI, on the MACD, we're seeing the momentum hover around the middle region here. So just north of 50 on the RSI and just above the zero line on the MACD. Of course, there isn't too much in the way of a signal, but we are seeing some green bars on the MACD there, which is good, showing signs that buyers at the moment have got the edge on the momentum there. And the same with the RSI, showing that we're just above the halfway line, showing that it's slightly more a buy than it is a sell. So that is looking good. Of course, I do want to see some more upwards momentum in order for me to be fully bullish here, but the fact that we're seeing green bars on the MACD in particular and not red ones shows me that buyers have the slight edge at the moment over sellers, although this could change since we're very close to the zero line here on the MACD. So decent stuff in that department. And I just want to show you this other one as well, the Bollinger Bands, which I've not yet talked about on this channel, but basically it's very interesting because it kind of adds to our theory of consolidation here. Basically, the theory of the consolidation is that when there's an extended period of consolidation, typically we do see some large price movements. So on the Bollinger Bands, what this visually looks like is a constriction of the Bollinger Bands. So the distance between the blue bands is very, very close. And of course, what this generally tends to lead to is a region where the price breaks out and there's large price movements and the bands get further apart. So in this region over here, for example, so if we just study our last breakout over here, you can see the bands were very close together. So the distance between the upper blue line and the lower blue line on the Bollinger Bands. And what that resulted in was a massive breakout. So we see the bands constrict into this region here just after the price breaks out of that triangle, and the bands get super far apart as soon as we see that breakout. And of course, what we see in this region here are the bands very, very constricted. The bands are very, very constricted, and of course, when they're very, very constricted, this can only last for so long, and this typically results in a large price action in either direction, in the bullish or in the bearish direction. And of course, we get that confirmation when the price kind of breaks out of the upper or lower band. So as you can see here, for example, if you can see here, for example, we saw the price breakout of that upper band. So that is a price breakout to the upside. If it broke out to the downside, again, price would break below this lower blue band here. So this is another piece of evidence to tell us that something big is probably going to happen very soon here on Luna Classic. Now, the last thing I wanted to point, now just talking about the general crypto markets in general as well, because of course what the general crypto market is doing will influence what Luna Classic is doing. At the moment, things are looking quite green here on the whole of crypto. Things are very slightly up, but not by much. And of course, if we check the main crypto, Bitcoin, which kind of dictates what the rest of the altcoins do, here. So if Bitcoin makes a bullish move, then we should see a bullish bias on altcoins such as Luna Classic. And again, if Bitcoin goes in a bearish direction, then we'll see that in altcoins as well. And at the moment, Bitcoin, I believe, is in some sort of triangle pattern that looks like this. Of course, we've come down very, very steep here because of that FTX fallout. And now Bitcoin is hovering in the 16,000 region, bound by a triangle that looks like this. Now I'm watching what Bitcoin is going to be doing with this triangle, because we're consolidating at the moment, and when we consolidate on Bitcoin, we typically get a large breakout. And of course, breakout could happen to the upside from this triangle on Bitcoin, meaning that we should be bullish here on Luna Classic as well. So if we do see that breakout of Bitcoin through this resistance, so if price goes above, let's say 16,900 here on Bitcoin, then we should see a breakout with continued momentum. And if we do indeed see that, then we should see that on Luna Classic as well, and that could represent a breakout of this triangle here and an enter on a long trade. Now, if Bitcoin price continues to head down to this bottom here, then of course that's going to be bearish for Luna Classic, and I'm not going to be placing any long trades because there's going to be a bearish bias on Luna Classic, and it's going to be harder for it to be bullish here. So of course, if Bitcoin heads in this downwards direction to test the support once again at 15,900, then that's going to be fairly bearish for Luna Classic for the short term, so over the next hours at least. And of course, longer term, if Bitcoin does break below this support that we have at the moment, then the next price target really will be around 13,400 in my opinion. That is going to be the bottom target here for Bitcoin, and I am a little bit concerned with what Bitcoin is going to be doing, because of course, if I show you this region back in May, it reminds me of this shelf that we had here on Bitcoin. Basically, we saw a consolidation pattern that kind of looked a bit like a triangle like this, for example, and of course what we saw after it was a break to the downside from 29,000 from that triangle all the way down to 17,500 at its local low there in June. So this triangle on Bitcoin, although it's over a shorter time frame, still kind of reminds me of the triangle that we kind of saw back in May as well. So we could see a breakdown from this triangle, but we won't know until price breaks below the support line that we have here at 15,900. So if price gets to close to this resistance here, this yellow line, or the support, this lower yellow line here, then I'll be looking at what it does. If we do see increasing momentum in either direction, then it's going to dictate what Luna Classic does as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Bitcoin does, and therefore interesting to see what Luna Classic does. But at the moment, I do believe we've crossed this yellow trend line, and we're starting to see a change of trend from this horribly bearish downtrend to maybe a more sideways or even a more bullish trend here on Luna Classic. But of course, nothing is set in stone yet until what I've mentioned earlier in this video starts to happen as well. So a breakthrough, a triangle or another chart pattern, a crossover of that 100-hour moving average, and all the indicators showing us that Luna Classic is a buy. So that's all I have to say in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Do let me know in the comments down below if you're holding any Luna Classic, but otherwise I'll see you in my next video.